Hey y'all, grown black folks talk back out on a climb on the absolutely summer finally arrived July 1st here in San Francisco. It may not be this way for long, and in fact I'm sitting in my favorite sunny spot, and on the hill it's wind sheltered, but as usual the trees are out there dancing, and I'm high enough up to be able to see that there are there's a finger of fog flowing in, so this may not last long, but I'm out enjoying it today. And I had a thought to go with my video that you saw this morning, but I actually made yesterday. Okay, so we have a lot of information about what we are dealing with. We have to just accept the reality that certain men can swear by their grandmothers and beat down women in their grandmother's image. That the reverence, I don't even want to call that reverence, that I guess that's right. The reverence that a black man may have for a particular elder, men in general may have for a particular woman that did not require them to be anything but be a baby and to have things done for them and to, give her life for them does not translate over to women who are refusing to do that at all. But what do we vet for in a fair, non-bigotry way? And I thought about this and and it came up with something. The concept of lived reverence. Because that's what I've seen my father, the men I've chosen to have as my friends. They all have a sense, they don't all come from the same place in terms of what they believe. And I'm going to generalize it. Now, I mean something very specific as a Christian, but I'm generalizing it to start with. Live reverence. What that means is a sense of respect for all of humanity. And once you get all of humanity, that black women are human too. So that covers that. But you need to see, there are a couple things you can't fake in life. Joy and contentment cannot be faked. I'm not saying people can be happy all the time. But as a baseline, not constantly looking around for someone else and something else. That can't be faked. Now, automatically when you say that, that puts whoever you're looking at are outside the American paradigm. Contentment does not exist in a consumerist mindset because things are consumed and gone and they need to be replaced. Joy does not exist in a consumerist mindset because there's always something else to get and there's someone who has more than you. So automatically we put our thinking caps and our eyesight set for outside. Live reverence. I was on my walk today and I see people breaking branches on fruit trees to get fruit that isn't even ripe yet. The fruit is ripening here very slowly because, again, this is one of the few very clearly warm days of the whole year thus far. And so people are breaking branches to get fruit that isn't even ripe yet and not letting that tree ripen its load of fruit and making it so that tree will never ripen fruit on that branch again. If I saw a man who was willing to do that, I would pass him up no matter how tall he was, no matter how good looking he was, because that's just not attractive to me. How do you treat everybody around you, from the highest class to the lowest class? There's a way to treat people that does not deny them their humanity. I avoid people that gossip. I avoid people that spread rumors as much as I avoid people that openly scam. I avoid all that. Why? Because, again, that indicates to me that there is no lived reverence for humanity. And when I say lived reverence, I mean some sense that the world you live in and the people around you are not a chattel. Again, the 4th of July is coming up. The 4th of July was put together by men who want to be free from having other people take their things while holding other people in chattel. And when I say that, I mean every man, woman, child, beast, or piece of the earth. They only saw themselves as existing as human. So they could go and compete with each other for everything on the planet without ever suggesting in their minds that women were fully human, that people who are not European were fully human. This is how the Anglo-Saxon high-class noble and royal lives. To this day. You can throw all the other Europeans with colonies in there. The whole world exists as a chattel, and they are human enough to be able to fight over and act a fool. Reference the Napoleonic Wars. Reference the 100 Years' War. Reference World War I and World War II. But if you so much as put a finger on your right to human rights, Up until 50, 60 years ago, the conversation that I'm having with you right now would be enough to have me killed. And to be honest, there's still a few people out there who still don't want black women to be talking like this about them. What I've just said, joy, peace, contentment, live reverence for all creation, moves you outside that paradigm to the point that it is destructive to the paradigm if enough people begin to live this way. Oh, I'm not sitting up here talking about a revolution because I also am a realist. I realize that some people are going to stay in American consumerism. But here's the thing. Those two lifestyles are going to clash. And if you are not willing to do the work to step outside of this reality, then you are not going to be eligible for a partner. And you're not going to be able to vet for a partner outside of this reality. Black men are American consumers too, and just mad because they're in the caste system at the bottom. Mad because the loss of affirmative action still allows black women to have more advantages by virtue of being women, but that has been completely snatched away from black men. Mad because already they see the separation and they can't see how it can benefit them because women are not willing to be chattel and are not willing to depend on men who are not moving up in the world and have no need to do that. That means that either they're going to step up or they're going to perish. Something about slavery that you don't know, but every black man kind of knows this because he sees this situation recurring. If you were not a good stud, if you didn't produce, you weren't big, strong, and produced well, your master didn't want you to have any children. This is where the preference for men over 6 feet tall and of a certain build still kind of stays with us because that preference was put in by white masters. If you didn't have those things, you didn't get to breed. Most black men were not allowed to be studs. This is why we still say a man of a certain build is a stud. That's what that comes from. Now, ultimately, that comes from also racehorses who were stud horses. But when we talk that way about human beings, there's a very specific reference in the United States of America. So you have to be able to understand that this is why men are out here killing women because we're refusing to be chattel, just like white masters would kill slaves who dared to try if they could catch them. Killing and maiming so that the rest don't get any ideas. That's that same root of thinking. This is why it's getting so dangerous out here. But how do we avoid this? Okay, you can't vet for live reverence unless you practice it. You can't fake it. If you want a man who sees you as a valuable human being, you also have to be a woman who can see him and other human beings that way, because he has as much right to watch you as you have to watch him. I was talking to my mother about this, about my single status at age 42, and I realized I need a big, deep, giving, generous man who is ahead of me on that. Why? Because I have spent a lifetime in live reverence in the Christian sense. Now, like I said, I'm talking about something very specific, but I gave it to you generally. Here is the very specific thing that I'm talking about. And I am not talking about churched. I'm talking about knowing that you are a member of a royal priesthood, even before you get out of the red letters of the Bible. People keep talking about red letter Jesus is so easy to get along with. No, it just means you have not read Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John completely. He said very clearly, he gave this parable 2 times over about people who were in a Lord's service and had things committed to them. And their rewards and their position relative to his kingdom was determined by what they did. We assume that all of them were his servants. They did belong to his household. But at the end of one of these, he says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Come on up a little higher. You've been ruled over a few things. Come on up a little higher, and I'll make you ruler over many." That is a metaphor for the life of the Christian who is in the position of king priest in God's kingdom, being fitted for a kingdom under the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, being fitted for a lordship, being fitted for being a access point between man and God. Now, of course, if we genderize this in English and realize that Galatians says it's neither male nor female, this means that every single woman also is being fitted for this responsibility. And since there's no marriage and giving in marriage in heaven, that means every woman will have her own kingship. If you genderize it in English, queen priestess. Every woman will have this just as much as every man. So everything I do is in training. Since I am going to be the steward of all creation, a portion of it will be under my administration. What do I need to be doing? Practicing live reverence. Being faithful over a few things. Relative to the universe. Nobody. Roll all the billionaires together. Relative to the universe, no one is ever faithful in more than a few things. So we're in training every day. How we treat people is part of our training. And what the Christian will have access to have administration over in the next life, is determined by their faithfulness and what God has given them now. I spent part of my outside time on a phone conversation making sure a community problem was solved today. I have a different video to do about the realization I had, though, about that on the human side. I mean, there's limits to everything, but what I want to talk to you about is live reverence means that you already practice the stewardship as a Christian every day of your life. But that stewardship also requires you resting and also getting out of situations that are no good for you, because it's bad stewardship to be worn out behind other people's foolery. That's a different video, and I will do that in a moment. But this is what you vet for. When I say I need a big, deep, generous man, I'm looking for a man who understands that he is a steward of everything around him. And thus, he will understand his obligation to pour into me. That's my next video. As much as I understand my obligation to pour into him, not because of who we individually are, but because we have been called together in this life to administrate our stewardship together. My friends, almost everybody who's close to me, we're on similar missions or on the same one. Why? Because we understand live reverence. Man, woman, child, or beast, if it comes into our purview, it's here for us to bless it as much as we can, without getting into the stewardship of what we are responsible for in our own lives. That's a very important distinction. I'll come to it next. But this is something to vet for that requires you to also become that person. Ladies, if you are an American consumerist only looking at men for what they can provide you in American consumerism, this is not for you. You will never have it. Ever. Because men who are on their stewardship journey avoid women who are not. So that's some work you got to do. Some things you only get to learn and have by actually doing those things. I'm sorry, there's no shortcut. There's no way to make it easier. There's no nice way of even saying that. I mean, like I said, I read all those comments about Carlisha Brown and Jerome Brown, Carlisha Hood and Jerome Brown. I've read all the comments, well, not all, but enough. And I'm just kind of like, no, if you're mad at you have two people who are mad at the other party because they can't get what they want, that they have no right to anyway. Who told you that your calling in this world was to be an American consumer making chattel of everything and everyone around you? If you want a man who doesn't see you as a chattel, then you better become a woman who doesn't see men as a chattel either. If you don't, forget it. That needs to be understood. There is no righteous path to you having a man to use as a slave. Just like there's no righteous path for a man to have a woman to use as a slave. For you to vet for love, joy, peace, and contentment, you need to be practicing them. Some things you can only have as you practice them. Do you want them faster? Then practice them more. That's it. You can vet for lived reverence for humanity and creation only if you are practicing them. Otherwise, keep on in the doom loop. Those are your only two choices in a society that may be approaching a doom loop. Figure out what you want. Y'all have a good day now. I got another video to do about what I decided that I want. See y'all in a little bit. Bye. Well, You might get this Sunday morning. We'll see. All right. Bye.